you go.
Hey, sick clap, bro. Let me sample that.
You know, can I get production credits?
Yeah.
I don't know, that wasn't convincing, man.
Bruv, I credit people for claps, you know.
Is it?
Bruv, if you look at the credits of my songs, they're long because I credit everyone for everything, bruv.
Alright, you should have told me, man. I would have.
See on Darkest Hour.
Yeah.
Joel Culpepper, Dana Fisher, the bass player, like the whole room was clapping in it. I just credited everyone. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's sick.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Swindle, good to be with you, bro.
It's a pleasure.
I appreciate the invite. I appreciate being here in this space with you. First of all, like, thank you. Second of all, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm really well.
Yeah,
excited to be putting out music, and things are going well, man.
Yeah. They look it, man. I mean, obviously you started your new campaign.
Yeah.
You got a new album coming.
Yeah.
Later this month. Now we're in October already, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about that, but before we get there, what I wanted to start with was old Swindle back in the day, because you're not new to this. You're pretty much solidified as a legend in this game now, and it started for you back, correct me if I'm wrong, but it started for you back in like 2006, 2005.
Yeah, that's like my first kind of local releases. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Everything used to be on such a local level.
Yeah.
And then 2007, I had a mixtape that featured, artists from East London and other parts of the country and Birmingham. Like Development was on there, and Ghetts, Big Nasty, people like that.
Yeah.
And then that started the kind of branching out of my ends, I suppose.
Was it always music for you? Has it always been music?
Yeah, music's always been there for me. I've always kind of done it in my spare time. Mm-hmm. I can't say I always knew that I would make a living from it and stuff like that. But it's something that I can't remember not doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so you started doing all these mixtapes, like self-release mixtapes, and the names on there are names that we see today. And that itself is crazy. But what initially is really interesting is your taste in music, your genres.
Yeah. Very
genre fluid, man. Like not sort of your typical stuff. I mean, your first, correct me if I'm wrong again, but your first mixtape was titled 140.
Yeah. Which
is like obviously ode to the BPM of grime.
Of grime, yeah.
But then you're very influenced by jazz, and you're very influenced by soul. Where do you think that influence came from?
Definitely from my father, who's like a guitarist and
sick.
Yeah, like a jazz, soul, and funk enthusiast, to say the least. So we grew up on good music, and he kind of instilled that in us. And like, I'm one of four boys, so we all kind of had that musical education. From like the very beginning. So that's always been there. And I feel like even when I'm like trying to make genre specific music, it's like funk is almost like the pace of my heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I press a key, it just feels funky. I don't know where that
can't escape it.
Can't escape it. And I come to think like, I think it's kind of ingrained in us actually as people, and I just want to keep that tradition going.
Do you think art has become separated from soul a little bit?
When it's monetized, and that's why like my first rule in everything is that I never let business direct the creative.
Right.
I get creative and then let that direct the business.
100.
That's like just rule number one for me. So I don't really get involved in music like for the money, if that makes sense.
So what was your mindset when you started releasing all these mixtapes? Was it just that was your purpose, just to create?
At the beginning, I just wanted to share. I'd made music kind of. I'd come home from school, make beats.
Yeah.
I'd spend my weekend making beats. Something I always did. And then when I was kind of in my later teens, I realised that people liked it, I suppose, when I get into college and stuff like that. And, I quickly became like the person to go to for beats and stuff like that, and started picking up kind of like a local reputation for it. And
this was in South London, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that I just really enjoyed. So the more people started to recognise me for something that I always did in private. Then I started to pursue that and, you know, making mixtapes, getting out on the high street and trying to sell them outside McDonald's.
What, you used to rip them on CDs and stuff like that?
Yeah. That's what it was back then. You know, my first mixtapes were printed in, you know, my dad's office. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Sick, man. And then, so obviously you've been influenced by all these different genres and artists. Well, sorry, who are some of them? Like, give me some names. Like who
like the first is just Quincy Jones. He's still the greatest producer that ever happened to Earth.
Yeah.
George Clinton, Herbie Hancock, George Benson, all the jazz greats, Miles Davis, Donald Byrd, and then also, you know, massive crossover artists like Stevie Wonder, Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. Big names.
Yeah. Just all the greats, you know, all the kind of great music that I guess you would expect.
100.
Yeah.
100. Some of the names on those mixtapes, and then obviously on your early releases as well, like I said, have crept up again. You know, you've got Kojey on there, you've got Joel Culpepper, who's been about with you, a few others as well. Big Nasty Ghetts is there as well. What do you think has changed for them? Like, how have you seen those? So let's talk about Kojey, for instance. Yeah. So obviously Kojey is someone you've collaborated with a lot.
Yeah.
How do you see his growth?
Like, seeing growth in artists has become like one of the most satisfying things about making music for me now. I spent years and years traveling as a DJ, kind of making beats for the club, and like the height of satisfaction with that is getting a reload of one of your new songs. Do you know what I'm saying? Making something on Thursday, playing it on Friday, shutting down the dance floor and wheeling it up. And now working with an artist and, you know, even playing a small part in them, I don't know, eventually getting their record deal or a radio playlist or a headline show, like that's the new reload. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, you know, I'm like conscious never to like take credit for their successes as well, because Kojey is an incredible artist, and I'm only able to do with him what we have because he's so great. And same goes for Joel Culpepper and anyone else that I work closely with. But being able to contribute and add value to their journey is something like I kind of pride myself on. Yeah.
And it's not just him. There's a lot of artists that you worked with. How was it? Was it just a case of you guys were in the same space back in the day, and you just sort of grown together? How did it come about?
With Kojey, we met in Russia.
Okay.
I was out there DJing, and he was out there doing a show. So Elijah from Butters is someone that I worked with for years, and he often shows me new music and stuff that he thinks that I'd gravitate to, and he showed me Kojey's early like videos and stuff, his kind of early projects, and I was just blown away by what he was doing, you know. And then we saw that we were both playing in Moscow on the same night. So I tweeted him. I was like, I'm going to come to your show before my show. And he's like, they're in the same venue.
Yeah.
So,
no, really?
Yeah. So he was kind of doing like the day show and I was doing the night party.
Yeah.
So I got there early, watched him play.
Yeah.
He stayed, watched me play. And then, like, I think 3 days later, we were in Red Bull Studios in London.
That's organic.
Yeah. And we made Water and Coming Home in the same session.
Crazy.
And that was the beginning of our working relationship.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, that's crazy that you met him out in Russia.
Yeah.
How about with Joel? Because I know he was on some of your early stuff as well.
Yeah. Like, the story of me and Joel is like one of my favourites. I have a journalist friend in Joe Muggs. He covered a lot of my early releases and stuff, and he kind of became someone that I would go and show records before they come out.
Sick.
And one day, kind of randomly, he called me and he said, you know, I wouldn't usually hit you up like this, but I just dropped my son to school and his teacher told me he sings and I kind of reluctantly took a CD off him.
Yeah.
I've got home and I've listened to it, and it's actually really good. And I think that you would like him. And he was right. Yeah, his kind of first kind of like demo or mixtape or however you want to put it was just right up my street, and that was the beginning of mine and Joel's kind of working relationship.
Crazy.
He would come down to my mum's house. I was still living at my mum's at this point in the basement.
Yeah.
And did a few recordings for like Long Live the Jazz and Peace, Love and Music. But then kind of later down the line, it's like we were always working on music, and it was like we was making good music, but it's like we hadn't quite we hadn't landed yet, if that makes sense. And then one day I was watching like a James Brown documentary, and then this idea just came in my head. I had this new acoustic piano kind of in the front room, and I played this riff and called Joel, and I was like, come down tomorrow, I think I've got an idea. And that was Woman. Mad. He went and done Woman on Colours, and kind of the rest is history.
That took him, man. That was like a pinnacle moment for his career. Right?
Yeah, and for us it was a pinnacle moment in going, this is the lane. Right. This is like, that's him at his most natural. It's not, what should we make today? Like,
just happened.
Yeah. That was it. As soon as I kind of had that idea, and just the kind of the energy of that performance, that really informed what we was gonna do with his album.
Sick.
So then when he asked me to exec his album, the main objective of that was to write a record that will let people know who he is as an artist, and also give people a taste of what he might be like live.
Got it.
Because that's where he really shines on stage. Yeah. I took him on the No More Normal tour, even though he wasn't on the album, and we did Woman at the end of every show, and it really didn't matter what crowd he was in front of. Like, he just absolutely smashed it.
That's the thing,
every
bro.
single
I feel
night.
like when you make something that's, I mean, you would know better, but when you make something that's organic, it will transcend everything.
Totally, yeah.
It will transcend whatever someone's into, whatever a listener's into, and 100%. I feel like that's what you've created with him.
It's just honest music, I think, They say like, real recognise real, but it's true. When you hear music that really sounds like someone's expression, you just gravitate towards it.
Doesn't matter what it is, innit?
And that's what I've picked up from all these great artists from yesteryear. Do you know what I'm saying? When you listen to Stevie Wonder songs in the key of life, like, you really believe him because it's real.
Do you think that dictates longevity as well?
Yeah, I do. I think that people that choose that route in music do tend to have longer careers. They often have parts in their careers where people might feel like they're underrated, or it's definitely sometimes the scenic route or the long way round. But ultimately, I think it does lead to longer careers, and I see it in my friends like Ghetts, and artists like Little Sims, and I just even Prince. His first single was not a hit, and those artists leave a legacy and a catalogue that will last forever.
Yeah. And it's nice to see, because a lot of it nowadays, that what is forced upon us is not that. It's not that. 100.
And I have no interest in making that music.
No. Well, you never have.
No.
You never have.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the opportunity's often been there for me to kind of do that thing.
I can imagine, bro. Like, for you, I mean, we'll talk about your new album in a bit, but looking at the lineup, you've got access, Yeah.
But this is all organic relationships.
Right.
People that you see, especially on my own records, is people that I pick up the phone to and have proper conversations with, get in the studio, and we make what we feel.
Right.
It's never contrived. It's always kind of organic. Yeah.
100%, man. Well, you mentioned just then your 3 albums that you've already dropped. So started off with Long Live Jazz. 2015.
2013. That
was it. 2013. Yeah, all right. So that bio was wrong that I read then. What made you want to do an album? Was it just what was it?
Obviously, I started by doing mixtapes.
Yeah,
140 mixtape.
Yeah.
when I listen to music, I listen to bodies of work.
Okay.
I listen to people's albums.
Okay.
I still do that now. I still buy vinyl. You know, I sit through whole albums that I'm not even sure I'm gonna like, because I want to hear the body of work. I want to hear the contribution. Yeah. So I guess at that time, 2013, dubstep is massive. A lot of us kind of grime guys that were DJing and making more club leaning grime beats were picking up lots of DJ work kind of alongside that. I was releasing on Deep Medi at the time, and it just made sense for us to do an album. That's what I did.
Sick, man. And then you followed it up with Peace, Love and Music, which was 2015.
That was 2015.
Okay, yeah. And that was where you started to work with Joel a bit more. Or?
Yeah. That album was predominantly made on tour.
Okay.
So at that point, it's like DJing had really picked up. I was traveling to all these amazing places.
How did you get to Russia?
Because instrumental music really travels, and where I spent so long of my career, like releasing instrumentals. There's no language barrier with that.
No, of course.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I could just put a bag on my back and go and DJ. And so I was traveling out the country every week. You know, sometimes a couple times a week, and I would find myself in the Philippines and South Africa, Switzerland, America, Brazil, and I would always ask myself, you know, why is it I get to go to these places and music's brought me to those places? 100%. I must have a duty to kind of use those situations to give back to music.
100%.
So I started recording in these countries, and that music is what Peace, Love and Music is.
That's
and
amazing.
I guess the concept is like, through all that traveling, you get to see all the differences in all these places, but one thing that's always clear is that there's some things that just keep us all in common. Do you know what I'm saying? There's certain grooves that move every human. Do you know what I mean? And there's certain emotions that link us all together. For me, it's Peace, Love and Music, you know, and that's where that whole thing comes from.
Man, that's incredible. What were some of your highlights when you were doing that tour, bro? Like, was there any standout moments?
So many, man.
I can imagine.
So many.
Like, even going Philippines, bro, that must have been mental.
Yeah, that changed. The Philippines really like changed my outlook on a lot of things. Just generally as a person as well. We played this beautiful festival called the Malasimbo, kind of on this remote island of the Philippines. Sick. There's one road on to get around. It just goes to the top of the mountain, and that's where the festival was. But traveling in Philippines, you know, I was like up close to saw some poverty. You know, I saw like I saw child poverty. You know, I saw children begging, people getting on the boat to the thingy for money. And I remember at the time I'd been traveling and I was young, and I had this new Gucci bag in my hand, and I'd spent stupid money on it. I would never do anything like that now.
No.
And these kids were begging, and I didn't have a coin, and I just thought to myself, like,
you got this bag and no coin.
I got this bag and no coin, and these kids are, you know, 4, 5, and 6. On their own, 100%. On a raft in the middle of the sea, begging boats for change. And, you know, it made me think about what my purpose is and what legacy I want to leave behind, and what can I do with this like amazing gift. You know,
100%.
I feel very fortunate to be in those positions where I'm traveling because of music, because
definitely, bro,
99% of people that I'd known before that point, that was just a completely alien concept. Definitely, you know, it's not what my friends do. Do you know what 100%. I'm saying?
And I imagine those moments as well, they're very humbling. Like, I know, I mean, you know, like, I think one thing I've learned from my travels is that there's countries and there's people and there's cultures that are a lot happier or content without half the shit that we have. You know, and that's the sad thing, I think. You know, for us.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. So, so many highlights. Japan, building up kind of an audience in Japan was amazing.
They're great. They got a mad music market.
Yeah, Tokyo still to this day is the best shows that I've ever played.
Really?
Yeah, I used to go there every year. Been there probably 6 or 7 times, and without fail, it was the best show of the year every single time.
Mental, bro.
Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah.
So that was Peace, Love and Music, and that was an amazing project. But then you moved on to No More Normal, which was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
That one, from like an outside perspective, that one sort of, I don't know, it felt a little bit different. It felt it felt like a different level.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's a combination of a few things, I guess. You know, after traveling so much and doing Peace, Love and Music, it'd been a long time since I'd actually sat down in one place to make music. So that was the original idea, is like, look, I'm just going to stay in England for a bit. I'm not going to travel constantly. And I'm not going to make music that is geared towards a club either. I'm just going to make music for the sake of making music. Yeah. And that's where No More Normal came from. I also it started with this concept of it being like a scrapbook or a storybook.
Okay.
And a page is written by a different artist. And then these are all like concepts in my mind that I used to kind of write albums. And the other one was if it was a class photo of 2019, like who's missing. And that's how I kind of reached out to people and had people involved. You know, I wanted Nabaya Garcia, Ghetts, Etta Bond, Kojey Radical, Eva Lazarus. I wanted them to all be represented in this class photo. And also, I'd become a father. You know, my life had changed. I feel like I'd matured as a person, and that helped me mature as a musician and a producer.
100%, man. Do you feel like the instrumentals you made, it's like a different operation from when you work with artists and you're getting them to say their truth? Yeah. Is it almost like a vicariously sort of message that you're putting through them? Like, what's the difference?
Depends if I'm writing for my own record or writing for someone else's. And when I'm like execing somebody else's album, or helping someone else write their record, what I say to them is like, the more I understand you, the better I can paint this for you. 100%. If I can see your imagination, then I can paint it. And I use so much that I learned from DJing and traveling. It's funny because it's like, you know, 1 week you're playing in Australia and then the next week you're playing in India, and you soon realize when you're kind of traveling in countries where nostalgia doesn't translate.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like these big like garage hits or...
Yeah, because it's culture, it's part of culture.
Right, so you go and you're playing in places where the only thing that will make them move really is like musical satisfaction.
100%.
And you start to pick up, you know, what records just work across the board and what doesn't. And that's really helped me in my production.
It's allowed you to understand.
It's allowed me to understand better just how to simplify things and have a focus, like how to put forward like a complex idea in a simple way.
100%, man.
Do you know what I mean? Or in an effective way. 100%. That's what I use when I'm in studio with other people. And I know that I wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for all those years of traveling and being in studio in all these different situations. You know, that's where I learned like a lot of the techniques for recording live instruments, like being in Brazil and being put in front of instruments that I had never seen before, let alone recorded. Like in China, recording a guzheng, I didn't know what that was.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a lap. It's just like a stringed instrument that you play on your lap. It's the one you've heard in lots of kind of Chinese music. I didn't know how to mic that. I didn't know how it's played. Do you know what I'm saying? So those things really helped me, and I'm just leaning on all of that knowledge that I picked up now and just trying to incorporate it into like modern music.
Incredible. So 2019 was no new normal, but 2019 was also a funny year, just in terms of the world, right?
Yeah.
It felt like, I mean, it's felt like this for the last few years now, but it felt like everything was going to shit.
Yeah.
You know, and then obviously end of 2019, start of 2020, the pandemic hits the world, which we're still in. Black Lives Matter picks up, which rightly so, but to a whole new different level. George Floyd happened.
Yeah.
And you know, I get goosebumps just saying his name now because it's tragic.
Yeah.
But what's even more tragic is the fact that this happens every day and we don't even see it. Right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't even happen on a physical level; it happens on a metaphysical level as well. Was that? And so we're going to talk about your new album now, the New World, which is, you know, it's out this month. And did you intend to make it, or was it literally a response to what was happening?
It was totally a response to what had happened. And I was saying that in the title of No More Normal. Like, the titles always come from stuff that I would say.
Right.
Yeah? Like I say with Peace, Love and Music, where that come from. I would start my shows, my name's Swindle, I represent Peace, Love and Music, can I play music for you tonight? When we was recording No More Normal, people were like, so, like, what we doing here? I was like, no more normal. We're just chucking away the rule book.
Yeah.
And we're moving forward. But we have to be able to do this amongst ourselves to move forward. Do you know what I'm saying? And then with this album, you know, we'd all been locked away for so long. It was all good at first. Everyone was making beats at home and had a reason to stay indoors. And then, you know, those events unfolded. And honestly, like, it hit me hard. It just brought up lots of past trauma. You know, I've dealt with lots of aggressive and violent racism growing up. You know, not just the subconscious or like, I mean, like, just really like in your face, people trying to chase you down the road, graffiti on the walls, people getting beaten up. Do you know what I'm saying? That all happened on my doorstep as a kid. And it's stuff that I had locked away, and making music and DJing, traveling the world made me fall in love with people again. Do you know what I'm saying? Because for a long time, I was quite reserved and skeptical of people, because we weren't shown love. Do you know what I'm saying? We were shown much worse. People would just intimidate us for existing. So I guess
that's crazy, man.
So in that time, you know, I just stopped creating. And I started getting back in that headspace where it was just basically fight or flight, you know. And I would speak to other artists and try and drag myself out of that. You know, so I'd ring Joel and I'd ring Kojey, and even I remember having a conversation with Joy Crookes, and people were also like, you know what, like, I'm not really creating at the moment. I don't know, it's all gone a bit weird.
Yeah.
And I was on the phone to Joel one day, and I was like, let's just get away. We was approaching the first easing of lockdown.
Okay.
So I was like, I kind of had the idea out loud whilst on this conversation. I was like, let's get away. Let's all link up in studio. Figure this shit out. Learn how to create again. It'll be like a musical retreat. But more importantly, we can have these conversations and figure out how we're going to enter the new world.
Right.
It's like, cool. Just looked into it, booked Real World.
Real World's like, you used that before, haven't you?
Yeah. It's like my favourite studio on earth. I've recorded a lot of studios. It's like the most amazing and inspiring place to record. And like the facility is incredible as well. So it's like really good gear and great sound and everything like that. So yeah, I ended up just putting round this text to all the people that I'd kind of had these conversations with over the last few weeks, and was like, I'm planning this trip. We can stay there. We can all be in a bubble. The studio is big enough for us to do this COVID safe. Let's go retreat, get creative, reconnect, and figure out how we enter the new world. And then we went. It's like no cameras. Do you know what I'm saying? No More Normal had this big documentary, which is amazing. This time around, I was like, I want everyone to be free. Come and go as you please. Leave your phone in the corner if you want. Go and nap for half the day if you want. If you hear something playing and you want to jump on it, jump on it. If you don't. Do you know what I'm saying? There's 2 rooms. There's a bunch of beats in the back. Just do your thing. And then I guess we just all went there and just, like, a lot of creativity just kind of poured out of us.
100%, man.
And then that music is the new world.
And you say all of us. I mean, you're talking Loyal Kana,
Yeah.
JNR Williams.
Yeah.
Greentea Peng. Crookes. Kojey Radical.
Yeah.
Maverick Sabre. Culpepper. Like.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Ghetts,
Akala.
Knucks.
I can't even remember them.
Daley.
Poppy.
Yeah, Poppy, Ajudha. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
It really is, bro. It really is, man. Like, for you to be able to... It is literally the Avengers of UK rap, soul, hip-hop, black music.
Yeah.
It really is, you know? So that was incredible to see.
Yeah.
What is the new world, then?
What we make it. Do you know what I'm saying? What we fight for and what we make it. It's like... who you enter in the new world with. Do you know what I'm saying? And how are you gonna conduct yourself in the new world? The last thing was no more normal, isn't it? So we're done with that. And I guess like a lot of the thinking at the time was like people would say, oh, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? I'd be like, I'm not playing that game in the new world.
Okay.
After like Black Lives Matter and everything else, I'm not like, you know, anti-establishment. Maybe I'm anti-Babylon, but do you know what I mean? I'm trying to be on this pure path. I'm trying to work with people with integrity. I'm trying to work with integrity and be able to stand by everything that we do and everything that I say. And that's how I'm entering the new world, you know? I mean, it's happening right now, isn't it?
It's happening, bro.
Yeah.
Everything is becoming decentralized.
Yeah.
You have created something, or you could even do it in this studio.
Yeah.
You can be in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah.
And you can make a living.
Yeah.
And you can keep who you want to keep around you, and that be it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the inspiring thing now.
Yeah. For sure. And we have to be able to have like a network between us to, you know, I'm an advocate of independence as well, you know, and I don't just mean like, oh, don't sign. I mean, drive your own ship.
Right.
You know, make your creative decisions with a full heart. Like, yeah.
You've called it a healing process, the making of the album. Do you feel healed?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, before we went to New World, I was like, before we went to Real World,
right,
I was spending my days pacing up and down, do you know what I mean? Looking out the window and getting ready for war, like, ultimately, because that's what had happened in the past, do you know what I'm saying? And then we come out of there and I had something to look forward to and we had all these great conversations, and I think everybody felt that it was like the year onwards from that was just a completely different experience. It was like we was all kind of nosediving into
the unknown,
just into darkness, and then going there and doing that thing. It's like people really cried it out in the studio. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? We had deep conversations. Like,
that's what you want, though, man.
Yeah, 100. And I hear it every time I play the album back. I hear it. I hear it in the subject matter of the songs, and I hear it in the playing. I hear it in the performance. You know, it's just like the purest, most honest, hyper collaborative, natural record I've ever been a part of.
And the creative process, then, have you ever experienced anything like that before?
So No More Normal was very collaborative, and there's a lot of musicians involved and lots of artists, but this was like that taken to the extreme, you know. So we were kind of building beats in the main room, with like all my favorite musicians, and then we had like strings and horns in the back room, ready to go. Yeah. It's kind of people were like writing songs in the hallway in between the two studios. Yeah. We'd be making something, and then Joel would go, I got an idea. Just jump up, put a hook in, and then I look in the corner and Kojey's there writing a bar. He doesn't write like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember one moment sat in the studio and was just like, I think we just had like some chords and a drum beat going, and then Mav started like just oohing. You know, he does that a lot. He will just have like this vocal melody, and he will just be oohing. That's the only way I know how to say it. And then like Junior was in another corner, and he starts harmonizing with him.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then Joel's in another corner, and then he starts harmonising. And I just felt my hair stick up on the back of my neck. And I was like, this is like, we're literally healing ourselves with vibration here. Like, this is it. This is what we're here for.
Yeah. That shit's real, man. Yeah. Vibrations heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no secret.
No,
you know, like music is one of the last like pure human things that we do on earth. And that's another thing I learned from travelling. It's like, bro, you could go into the middle of a jungle and find a tribe that doesn't interact with the Western world. I bet they still know.
They communicate with.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
with sounds.
It's like it's deep.
Yeah, it really is, man. Again, you mentioned JNR Williams. You mentioned Maverick. You mentioned Joel. You've so far you've released 4 tracks off the album. All crazy, all incredible. I think the first one was Lost, if I'm right. Yeah. So talk to me about that record. Yeah. So it's like we were building beats in the front room, and then I had loads of beats sitting in the back room on a laptop, and that beat I made actually. Femi Colioso and TJ Colioso from Ezra Collective are the rhythm section of that beat. And Loyal just picked it off my laptop. It was like a not a lesser version, but like a more simple. Yeah. I just make loops and leave them, and then I produce around the song. Structure,
And he was just in that back room with Kojey. And then I come in, he was like, can I do something with this beat? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I got this idea. And then he played it. And then he spat his verse for me. I never heard Loyal on double time like that.
Right.
And I looked at him. I'm like, I'm not sure you understand like how deep this is, bruv.
Yeah, for real.
Do you know what I'm saying? The way he just glided on it. I was like, yeah, this is the one. And then him and Kojey were literally sat on the sofa next to each other in this back room. And when I hear that song, I can hear them. I can almost see them sitting on the sofa, back and forth, barsing, like that. And that's really, that's really what happened. And same with No Blacks, No Irish. These are like conversational songs. Same with Darkest Hour. These are like just real interactions between the artists, you know.
100%.
And they hadn't like necessarily worked with each other before or anything like that. You know, it is the sound of our experience in that week.
100%.
You know, I've never produced an album in a week before. Normal took me 3 years.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm saying?
It must have been very intense.
It was,
you must
but
have come
it wasn't.
I'm guessing you were energized, but you were tired.
Oh, we came out tired, boy.
Yeah.
We came out tired, but the best kind of tired. Yeah. It was relentless. We're doing like 14-hour days as well, you know, every day.
Yeah, you mentioned No Black, No Irish as well, so obviously prevalent, like, you know, I mean, I wanted to, there was a little section at the end, and it reads, and I know the signs may change, but the times ain't paved in gold, and I know you're
and I know you're my friend until that time when I'm alone, so we roll every land, every place, every corner that we call on. For a road, we still got so far to go. No blood.
It's profound, bro.
But it's just real conversations, you know. Like, the only time that I'd left my house in that whole time was to go to protest with Joel. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mental.
That was my guide. Like, I was going on my own anyway. You know. When all this was going, I just got in the car and just drove to London, and I was just there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Joel rings me on the way. You going there? Of course I am. I'll link you. Go there. So this was at the front of our minds. And then, you know, when we were at studio, just kind of like catching up as we do. Obviously, this is at the front of a lot of conversation, and the kind of dynamic between Joel and Mav was just great to watch. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like Joel really speaking his truth, and in Joel's words, Mav leaning in and listening, not interrupting, not butting. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a true ally. Do you know what I'm saying? And I guess this song is a manifestation of that conversation 100%. And that dynamic between them.
Yeah.
You know, and the title was Joel's idea.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of artists would just be like, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for real.
Like a black artist comes to you and says, I want to do this song called No Blacks, No Irish.
100%.
A lot of people would not be on that.
No, absolutely.
But not Mav. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I got a lot of love for both of them, but like Mav really just time and time again proves himself as a real one.
100%, man. And his music speaks for itself as well.
Yeah, man.
He's been doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Especially like in a time where, like, but brother, we was all losing friends. Do you know what I'm saying? The conversation is so polarizing.
100%.
People were not ready to have that conversation.
No.
And, you know, I know Joel was losing friends at that time. We all were.
We all were, man.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we all have.
They're just like arguing with someone's random auntie on Facebook because they're not trying to hear it.
Yeah.
It was that time, you know. So those connections became that more important.
Do you have hope for the future of the world?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, no, I do. I have to because I have children.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I do also know is like we just need to contribute what we feel isn't happening. You know, that's what I do with my music, and that's what we just need to do as people. We need to contribute. Do you know what I'm saying? And yeah, we decide what happens next, don't we? If we're in there. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, 100, man. You've mentioned, you know, doing it for the love, the passion. You mentioned doing it because you've been inspired to travel. You're a father now as well.
Yeah.
How has your motivations changed over the years?
So much, man. I always have something to work for outside of myself now, having children, and it's given me just like a whole other perspective as well.
Right.
Just about humanity, and it's just made really clear for me. It's made everything. It's like a moment of clarity.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm not. I don't know.
Right. Okay. But everything just became clear to me once, you know. Once I had children, it's like it's a hard thing to explain. I guess a lot of parents will know, but you know, now it's like all I really need to do is be the best person I can
be
for them. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
And do what I can to make sure that they're growing up in a world that will support them,
right,
and keep them safe, and provide for them, you know. And also, like, I hope that as they grow, they will be able to look back on what I've done in my life and be proud of that legacy. Yeah,
100%.
So it's made me even more committed to making honest music, and you know,
100%.
Yeah.
Like you said, the world is in need of love, is in need of healing. What would you say to youngers coming up, looking at you, looking at artists, producers, musicians who you've worked with? What would you say to them to keep them going? What would be your advice?
Well, so much, I guess. Just to always continue, like, output is so important. Do you know what I mean? So don't sit on your ideas. Contribute them. Don't complain about the state of the game.
That's a difficult one.
Yeah, or like at least not on Twitter. Do you know what I'm saying? Contribute where the holes are. Do you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, no one will. Yeah, stay consistent, but rush nothing. Let the music direct the business, never the business direct the music. And make sure that you're going to be able to stand by everything that you put out, you know, in your career.
100. Final, I always end on 2 questions.
Right.
So the first one is, what was the first piece of music you remember purchasing, getting hold of, grabbing from the store? What was it?
It was a single. So low key now. It's called Searching by Black Gang Chine.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that.
No, some 90s
Okay.
hit. I bought it from R Price in Brixton. First album that I proper connected with was Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise.
Come on, classic.
Yeah.
Classic,
Yeah. And that led me to loads of other music. Yeah.
So
From Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise, like, I reconnect with Stevie Wonder, Pastime's Paradise.
Yeah.
But I also get into West Coast hip hop and gangster rap, like, massively.
Of course.
Which leads me then to George Clinton, Zapp and Roger, and all these funk records that I love now.
100%, man.
Yeah.
Final question. Stage or studio?
For now, studio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done many stages.
Yeah.
And I love it, and it's taught me so much.
Yeah.
But right now, today, my value is in the studio.
Swindle. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah.
Great
My
to chat,
pleasure, man. Yeah. Wicked,
Love,
man.
love,
Big
love.
up, man. Jeez.
Is that all good?
Yeah, I need a toilet.
Oh, shit.
Hurry up, man.
He was like,
Never let me question or mention if daddy distant. Focus on what he did, never what daddy didn't. Cause for many young boys, that's all they get to envision. Listen, the fathers in my house were women. Put their strength inside of me and put their soul in the kitchen. Working the night shift so we ain't skipping our dinners. Always gave me a choice and put my faith in the mission. Well, maybe he was scared, I was scared too. But walking through the fire is something that dads do. If I don't bring
Oh, okay, alright, let's do it.
now I have the chance, there's nothing I won't do. Dads saw themselves as providers of the type of wealth you only measure.